And we saw that happen, for example, after the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with this intense effort to make sure that James Earl Ray had the right attorneys, who actually were the wrong attorneys, who were trying to get him to plead guilty so there wouldn't be a trial at all. So we've got to get as much onto the public record as possible, and that is going to be forced. That is not something that is going to happen miraculously out of the concern that the government authorities have for the well-being of the American people or the global community. We've already seen that that's not going to work. Well, as you know, I've been kicked out of Congress for a second time by the Republicans. And so I guess I have a unique story to tell. I've tried to tell the American people the truth. And this is what happens when you do something like that. So it's okay, because I understand that that's the way the game of politics is played. I wish it were different, however. And the only thing that we can do is to struggle together to make those kinds of changes so that no one else will go through what I've gone through just because I want to tell the truth, or because they choose to tell the American people the truth. The good thing, I think, is that we've seen a coming together. There is no left or right. There is no Democrat or Republican. There are those who seek the truth. And so we have truly built a movement based on one objective, and that's finding out the truth. So the True Rainbow Coalition that the writers of the COINTELPRO documents were so afraid of can happen today. They were afraid of it. They let us know they were afraid of it. They wrote it down. We were smart enough to read it. And so while they try to divide black and white and Asian and Latino, Native American, they want to divide us by race, ethnicity, language, gender, socioeconomic status, any kind of difference that exists between and among people, they would like to use as a means to drive a wedge between us. But because we are all joined in one mission, and that mission is for the truth about what happened on September 11th, because the implications and the ramifications have been so vast and so great and so earth-shattering in terms of the change of the character of our country and the change of who we are to the rest of the world and the impact on the global community that we all care so much about, we've been able to put those differences aside. I see good things happening. I see a greater America coming out of this tragedy as a result of our learning that we can work together for a much greater cause, and we must. I've read a lot of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s writings lately, and in one of them, he talks about silence.
There comes a time when silence is betrayal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Silence is betrayal. And there's another quote where he talks about those in suits not getting justice served. And, you know, we've seen that happen even in his own murder, that those responsible for his murder walk the streets freely and find America as a safe haven. In much the same way that those who have done America's dirty work over the years, for example, in Haiti, Emmanuel Constant, who was the CIA paid leader of FROP, walks the streets of America with impunity, even though people were murdered on the streets of Haiti by the organization that he founded that was supported with U.S. tax dollars. So justice, another one of those king sayings, justice delayed is justice denied. And we have to hope for justice. But unfortunately, I don't see justice coming to the real purveyors of deception, violence, death, and destruction, who are holding the realms of power in our country. And there's something tragic about that. The survivors of those who were killed on September 11th carry around a tremendous weight every day. That weight is the fact that their loved ones will never be with them ever again. Only in spirit, only in mind, but not in body.
Given the United States' long history of false flag terrorism attacks, starting with McKinley in the Maine, moving on to even Gulf of Tonkin, to get us entrenched into Vietnam, Gladio, the overthrow of the Chilean president, overthrow of Mossadegh in Iran, is it more likely that 9/11 was carried out by 19 Arabs with box cutters, or that this is a false flag operation by a cabal within the government?
I think it's so instructive that loose change begins with Operation Northwoods. There is no understatement possible when one refers to Operation Northwoods, because they wrote it down. They wrote it down and they said, well, if we get university kids while they're on vacation, the nation will be outraged. They wrote it down about wreaking terror on the streets of Miami and Washington, D.C. They wrote it down about blowing up airplanes and blowing up airliners. And why? So they can have a war? In that case, it was war against Cuba. So if our Joint Chiefs of Staff can draw up a plan to facilitate war by killing innocent American people, I don't know that they've become any more benevolent since the 1960s.
Ms. McKinney, thank you for your time. That was awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Awesome.